Hello guys, welcome to your first video lesson of the year. My name is Mrs. Considine and I'm just going to get us started with some basic definitions that we need to have really before we can do anything else. So first off, we have a point. A point is a location in space. It doesn't have any length or width or depth, and we're just going to draw a point by making a dot on the screen. You can make a few of them here. And then to label these points, we're going to use capital letters. Any capital letter works. So let's say we have point Q, point T, and point Z. Well then, if you were asked to name 3 points, you could do that just by using the capital letters that represent the points. You don't actually have to draw any dots or points when you're labeling or naming them, describing them. Okay, so that's a point. The next definition is a line. And I think everybody knows what a line looks like. So we could just draw a line on this paper. It extends without end in both directions. So to show that it's going to go forever in both directions, we're going to put an arrow at each end. And then a point or a line is just made up of an infinite number of points, but we can actually specifically put a few points on this line. So let's say this is point L, this is point I, this is point N, and this is point E. All those points are on the same line. So then to describe this line or name this line, you need to just come up with 2 points on that line to name it. And you can pick any 2 points. So I could start off with L and then use the letter N. I could pick E and then I, or I could pick N and then L. But what is key is that to show that you're talking about a line and not just 2 points is above these points you need to put a line with an arrow at either end. To show that, let's say for this first one here, line LN, it goes through N and beyond, and it goes through L and beyond in both directions. Sometimes you'll also see a cursive lowercase letter, like this is a cursive L. You could also describe this line or name this line by writing line and then the cursive letter. We don't use that one quite as often though. Okay. The next one, a segment. A segment consists of 2 endpoints and all points of the line that are between the endpoints. So basically it's a part of a line, and the difference is though is that it does not go on forever in both directions. It has a starting point and an ending point. So let's say we had some points labeled on this segment. Point M, point A, point T, point H. If you wanted to describe this segment, you still need 2 points to name the segment, but the 2 points do matter. You have to have the starting point and the ending point. It doesn't matter which direction you go though. You could start with H first and then M. And then what's key here is that above these points is you want to put a line but with no arrows because it does not go on forever. It starts at M and stops at H. Our next definition is array. Array consists of one endpoint and all points of the line to one side of the endpoint. So basically it has a definite starting point and then it goes forever just in one direction. I like to think of array as like a sun ray. So you have your starting point of the sun and then the ray shoots out from the sun. So then when you are naming a ray, you also need 2 points. And it must start with the endpoint. So in this case, it would have to start with point S. Then you could pick either U or N for your second letter. So I could write SN or SU. And to just tell for sure that this is a ray, you are going to put an arrow above it, starting at S going through U, or here starting at S going through N. The arrow that's above the points must always go to the right, point to the right. Okay, before we do plane, guys, we're just going to go down to this next definition. Let's finish these line definitions. So here we have collinear points and non-collinear points. So there's two parts to this word collinear here. If you first look at the letter CO, co, I think of that as to share. Think about co-captains on a team. They share the captain responsibilities. And then the other key word is line. You can see the word line in there, and obviously we just talked about what a line is. So collinear points are points that are on the same line. And then here, the next one below here, non-collinear points, well, non you can think of as not. So points that are not on the same line. So if I draw a line here off to the side, or maybe even a couple of lines, so remember a line goes forever in both directions, so we'll put arrows on either end. Let's put another one on here. Okay, and then let's put some points on each of these lines. Okay, so this is point S, M, I, L, and E. If you were asked to name 3 collinear points, so points that are on the same line, you just want to find 3 points in this picture that are on the same line. So points S, I, and L. That would be an example of 3 collinear points. Or you could maybe say points M, I, and E. Those would be 3 collinear points. And then non-collinear points, points that do not lie on the same line. Okay, so now just pick, let's say it said to label 3 non-collinear points. So you could maybe start with M, and then say I and L. Or maybe you say S and then M and E. That would be 2 examples of 3 non-collinear points. Now let's go back up to the plane definition. So plane, all points on a flat surface. We'll be looking at the walls in the classroom, the surface of the walls, the ceiling, to talk about a plane. But sometimes you'll see a picture like this. And then a flat surface, you can put a bunch of points on here. So let's say this is point P, L, A, N, and E. To label this plane, you need 3 non-collinear points. So pick any 3 points that are on this plane that are not on the same line. So maybe you could call this plane P, L, E. Or just pick any other 3 points. Maybe plane A, N, and E. Just like with a line, how you could also use a lowercase cursive letter, sometimes you'll see a capital cursive letter, say like that. You could also call this then plain M, capital cursive letter. Okay. Scrolling down here a little bit, Now we're going to talk about coplanar points. Well, this has the word co in it, so it's going to share. And then it has the word plane in it, so it's going to share the same plane, points that are on the same plane. So if you had, let's say, maybe a flat surface, a plane right here, and then you put another plane, different flat surface, off to the side here. And then let's put some points on both of these planes. So you have point A, point B, point C, and D. And then over here we've got, let's just do E, F, G, and H. And then if you wanted to pick 3 coplanar points, well, you could just pick any 3 points that are on the plane that's outlined in red. So maybe A, B, and D. And then non-coplanar points, just pick some points that are on the red outlined plane and then some points that are on the blue outlined plane. So maybe A, and then C, and then F. Just points that are not on the same plane. So those are all of our definitions that we need to cover for today. Let's just do a little recap with these fill-in-the-blank sentences. Okay, so the first one, through any blank points, there is exactly one line. Well, it's key to know that you need 2 points to make a line. Second one, through any 3 points not on a line, there is exactly one plane. So you need 3 non-collinear points to make a plane. Third one, points that lie on the same plane, points that lie on the same line are collinear. And points that lie on the same plane are coplanar. All right, guys, good job. See you next time.